kind of the next step for us, and that's the kind of framing stage and you know, utility roughing. So this is a unit here that is in that kind of frame utility stage, and you're going to notice we've got some black kind of spray paint. We've got some holes already kind of drilled in. We've already got our hot water heater already kind of plumbed in. And again, this goes back to planning, knowing where everything needs to be and where it needs to be set. The reason why we put our vents in is so that when we start our exterior siding, that all of those penetrations that need to happen in the siding are already there, and we can go ahead and trim around them properly, and we're not having to kind of cut through and improperly put a penetration in an existing siding kind of scenario. So the black spray paint, that's usually to let us know that there's a hazard behind that, right? So right here we have our AC lines for our mini splits coming out. So we spray paint this right here to let us know, as well as if there's any type of future maybe issue, like a remodel or something happens where we have to take off this, or the owner has to take off this exterior siding, they'll also be reminded, like, hey, something is very important behind this, to avoid nailing or screwing into that location. And you'll kind of see these are our water lines, and they just kind of go wherever that that is on the outside, so everyone's reminded of that while we're working on the outside of the house.
Wonderful. What's the area in front of this house?
So this is additional storage as well as LP storage. So that tankless hot water heater is liquid propane. It runs off of 2 LP tanks. So those LP tanks will be stored in this front left compartment, and then the upper and right compartment, this will be the low voltage battery set up here for any of the low voltage that's in the house. We put typically a standard 100 amp hour battery system on there with a constant charger, and that helps keep things like LP sensors and any other 12 volt stuff that we have in the home up and charged and running. And then the upper 2 are just general storage for anything that the homeowner may have.
How long does it usually take to get to the previous stage to this stage?
So it's a pretty quick process from framing stage to trailer stage. Like that trailer right there, the next step for that trailer is sheeting. The decking will go on, and then the walls will go up. The walls for that should be here today or tomorrow. Again, we use that cold form steel. You'll see it inside this house. We have a local relationship that we have, and he delivers all of those for us. So that stage happens pretty quick. You'll get a shell within a week or 2. Then while that shell is there, then we bring in the utilities. So the electricians, we finish out the plumbing, we get our HVAC in place and everything so that we can spray foam. All right. So again, some of the things on the outside that you'll see, we just passed the hose bib. So this is something standard in all of our builds. We always put a exterior hose bib on the quote unquote living side of the house. So just like at your house that you have now, you know, you've got a place where you can put a garden hose and wash your car, or do, you know, whatever you need to do with that specific hose bib.
Is there anything that, could you tell them about Builder Trend, how we use pictures throughout the build?
Yeah, so again, you know, once you kind of get into our build process, from the design phase into the build process, we basically bring you on board in a system called Builder Trend. It's basically an app that we do all of our scheduling and all of our communication with our customers in. And throughout the build stage, there'll be 300 plus pictures of the home throughout that entire process in that folder within that app, and the homeowner has access to that the entire time, and they have access to be able to download that complete file once the house is complete, and have the photos you know, forever. So
going back to the basic dimensions, what's your largest build that you've done here at Movable Roots?
Up till the trailer that's coming today, it would have been an 8.5 by 42, but we've got a 10 by 40 coming in today, and then after that we have a 10 by 36. So we are starting to see more customers wanting that wider footprint from on the floor plans. So again, a standard exterior outlet on all of our builds. This is the front door kind of going into the house. Everybody needs that. Some sort of security light or a light for by the front door when you're coming home. You want to be able to have that just like you have in a regular home. So we don't want to lose any of those things that we kind of take for granted just moving to a tiny home. Watch your step coming in, TJ. So again, this is kind of the frame utility stage, and you're going to see we've got all of the cold form steel is up. You're going to see the spray foam insulation. You can see here where it's kind of covered in some insulation, but we've gone and we've put all threads. We use all threads through the framing system all the way down to the trailer, and typically they go all the way up to the top plate, but in this case we have a window here, so this one just went to here and we skip over to this section. So every about 4 feet we have these all threads, and they go all the way to that trailer and all the way through the top plate. And then we also, I don't know if you can see it there, it's kind of covered. I don't know if TJ can zoom in on these videos or not, but there's also a hurricane clip, and that hurricane clip ties that roof panel system down to the walls. So we're basically sandwiching this whole frame system to the trailer, so it acts as kind of one unit when it moves down the road. Different locations for outlets and electric, all per customer. We do an electrical walkthrough with the customer to make sure that they have everything where they feel like they're going to need it. In here we have the bathroom in this unit, and you'll see some additional kind of plumbing and some vents. We always have at least one atmospheric vent, meaning that the vent goes up and through and will vent through the roof, and that allows the plumbing to drain properly. This house also has gray water and black water tanks, as well as a freshwater tank that'll be going in kind of a day bed kind of sofa system right behind TJ. Again, you can kind of see one of the penetrations here. This is for the separate composting toilet that the customer picked. So their toilet goes here. Again, you can see they have the choice to eventually possibly change it out to a flush toilet if they wanted, but this one will have a composting toilet, and with the composting toilet you need a vent, and that vent's already kind of planned out in this build. We also have our bathroom vent for humidity reasons. You always want to make sure that you've got the bathroom well vented so that you don't kind of create any type of more humidity than you have to. And then back through here, you'll see this unit actually has a double AC head. So we've got one of them roughed in here, and the other one is roughed in there that will take care of a majority of the house. But because the master bedroom can be isolated, it needs its own air and heat possibilities. We will use a 100 amp electrical service, and the reason why we use a 100 amp electrical service, even though we only put a main breaker, 50 amp breaker in it, we like the 100 amp panel because it gives us the ability to treat it again like a residential house. In your house right now, you probably have ways to breaker off specific rooms of your house or specific appliances. And with a 100 amp breaker box, it gives us that ability to treat it just like a house. We can shut the kitchen down and leave the bedroom on, or we can specifically isolate specific appliances or different rooms in the house for breakering it off.
Could you touch a little bit more on the framing of the house and what comes with the framing of the house and what comes from the company?
Yeah, so basically we work with a local cold form steel company, and what it is you can kind of see here where I encourage you to look up cold form steel. Basically, this is a flat piece of steel that is formed with a machine into a 2x4 kind of setting, and then everything is riveted and designed to be in a specific place. So, window openings, door openings. The reason why we like steel is because mainly for movable tiny homes, everything's weight related, right? Like we have to be very conscious of the products that we use within the house, exterior, interior, all of those things, right? So we want it to be, uber strong, and that's what we get from the steel. But we want it to be lightweight, and that's again what we get from the steel. So average weight savings per stud compared to wood is about 15 to 18%. But what it does for us is it allows us to also be able to, not have to skimp on our custom cabinetry, or we have the ability to put quartz countertops in. So some of those heavier items that we do use, that we custom make, the balance is about 10% when we're completely done, right? So with a steel frame compared to a wood frame house, when it's all said and done and built, we save about 10% on the weight.
And does it come with the punch throughs?
Yeah, so everything comes punched through, and then when you run something through the punch through, you'll obviously have to put the grommets to protect anything that goes through that system.
Do you also run your internet through the frames?
We do. So we have coaxial, and so we do a Cat 5 and a standard cable to each cable box from the outside. And that gives the homeowner the ability to have either or, depending on what the local municipality is for cable. So like we're here in Florida, Spectrum does the coax cable for all of their systems, but there are some places here in Florida where everything's run with Cat 5. I believe AT&T uses a Cat 5 system. So both of those are included standard in the house. You can see our main feed here. It's good to kind of see this open here. So you can see this is our 50 amp line that goes to the outside of the house, where you'll have a actual RV kind of plug when it's all finished out. We also have our ground. So it's very important to make sure that the electrical system is ground to the trailer. So that happens here through this breaker box, goes out and down to the trailer. And then you've got a lot of your home runs coming in and from the top for the different parts of the house. We contract out our electricity, mainly because we want to make sure that we're doing everything to proper code when it comes to electrical. So our electrician has versed himself both on the RV and the park model kind of standards, as well as he's very well versed in the residential world. So that way we know that we're not potentially doing something that could cause a fire or something like that. So we want to make sure that all that's done correctly, and we don't mess around with that ourselves.
Is there anything else in this house that is specific to this house or custom that you can see already, even without anything else being in here besides the framing?
I think just the layout itself. So again, this house was designed for a customer and her two twin boys. So she has her ability to kind of get away and has some privacy here in the master bedroom, and then above is kind of the boys' kind of play space. They have a play loft along with a long kind of catwalk system to get them from one side to the other. And then they have their kind of sleeping area above, where they'll have some storage and stuff like that. I don't know if you can reach up there and show that at all. We've got this will be the first house that we're actually doing a cubic, like a wood burning stove, a tiny wood burning stove for this customer. So that'll be going in as well. Some people have asked, and I'll touch base on it, like why we use some wood and some metal. And the main reason is for kind of areas where we have to do some plumbing, and you can look in here, you'll see there's a lot kind of happening in that space. We find it easier to work with wood in that scenario than to try to get all of these holes and different things through the steel framing. One of the cons of the steel framing is that it's not as easy to work with. Like, you definitely need to have specific tools to work with it. We ended up buying a plasma cutter or basically a plasma cutter, and now we have the ability to kind of cut and zip holes and access to different things whenever we need it. Before that, we were using hole saws and drill bits and different things like that kind of help with that process.